let's give the floor to the president and chairman of the board of Glodon. Let's welcome him, Mr. Yuen.
好，尊敬的各位来宾，
Dear friends, good morning. Mr. Song has mentioned the digitization of the construction industry, and also the industry should go abroad, go global. And today we have as many as 100 audience from around the world. Let me say hello to you.
Warmly welcome you from foreign countries. I believe in this summit, you'll get a lot of useful information. Please enjoy it.
Digital construction was proposed at last year's summit, and in January this year we have released our white book. Digital construction is not just a concept, but a strategy, and it should also be an action guidance for every practitioner in this industry. From last year to this year, many have changed, a lot of transformations have happened, as well as some challenges have emerged. I'd like to take this opportunity to share with you what's this digital construction, how should we implement it, how it should be integrated with business management and project management. I'll cover 4 topics. And the first one is the information background, and the second one is elaboration on the digital construction, and the third is the case study sharing, and the fourth, the suggestions and advice to the businesses. From year 1985 to 2014, what we are seeing on this chart is the average construction workers in U.S. is showing this trend, which means that the working people in this industry is rapidly changing. That's not only the case in America, but also here in China, in Japan, in UK, and in Germany. And this change is also aging rapidly, but in some countries the aging is slowly. But in this specific historical period, it's aging rapidly. So we need to recruit younger workers into this industry. But how this industry has become such a one that's not appealing to young workers? Is it the working condition that's not desirable? Is it the salary, or is it the technology that's challenging? How can we make this construction industry a hot industry, or that's highly attractive? So this is the first question. Second question, let's talk about security and safety. In China, there are many safety-related accidents, but looking around the world, it's surprising to find that in the major developed countries, the safety accidents in some major developed countries, they are also the highest one.
For example, in the United States, the death caused by occupation accidents is over 8 million. And it's increasing instead of decreasing. And we can see that in Japan and Australia, these figures are also high among all other industries. And our productivity, we can see that we have a big gap from the other industries. To the right is the 41 major economies data of the share of their share to the global GDP in terms of the hourly work added value. And you can see that the construction industry is the yellow line and the yellow triangle, which are both very small. So for the increase of this productivity with this wage, we can answer the underestimation question. I think these issues are interconnected. Why can't we increase our productivity? Why can't we increase our wages? These are the answers. Now, so we heard about construction industry 4.0. We know that the EU, particularly Germany, they are promoting industry 4.0. In China, we have the correspondent Made in China 2025, but in other countries, another big development is construction 4.0. And actually, they are pushing forward the development in this regard. We can see there are many countries, and the EU as a whole are promoting construction 4.0. And construction 4.0 is actually the implementation of the industry 4.0. And they use digital twins, CPS, and the other core technologies to support, and they make use of beam technology to realize the modernization of construction. And here we mention about digital construction. There are many similar things. And the theoretical supporting documents are very similar. And in EU countries, even the small countries like Ireland, they are raising the questions of, can Ireland lead construction 4.0? And for example, in Portugal and other countries, they are promoting construction 4.0. If you search such information online, you will find large number of information. But in China, we seldomly mention this concept. And for this chart, it indicates the problem. Although the words are very small, it reads construction 4.0, once a generation opportunity. What does it mean? It means the only opportunity for a generation. They elevate the construction 4.0 to such a height. The only chance for one generation. I think this means a lot, and you can look into it. But if you look at it with our digital construction and our future, there are many similarities. So in terms of the digital construction, many countries are pushing forward this regard. And I visited some companies and heard that in Germany, Italy, and the UK, they have a very increasing demand of beam. It's not just they make use of beam in an all-round way, the big data and cloud computing to form an integrated approach or solution. So in China, not only in other countries, not only the manufacturing industry but also construction industry, they attach great importance to this. And if we adopt any technology there, we will go through a cycle. At first is the germination stage, and not many people focus on this. But once it is identified, many people will follow this technology and reach to the fanatic stage. And when we find the value of the technology is far behind our expectation, many people will abandon it, and we will reach the bottom, which is the break of fantasy stage. And when this curve reaches to the bottom, it still is higher than the germination stage, because there are still some people who firmly believe that this technology will change the industry. So because of these people's existence, we will go to the recovery stage for the technology. So, for example, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, and the Internet of Things are these technologies mature. And what is the stage is digital construction in. Let's look at manufacturing industry. At the mid of last century, manufacturing industry had realized how all progress, all participant, and all factor working in one platform, starting from design to manufacturing to assembly to the transportation and to the final use. It can realize digitization. For example, if you look at this motor, every component in this motor are digital based, and the location of any screw is digital based. And if you want to process every component and the procedure and the knife and the trajectory of the machinery are digital based, and so everything about this motor are digital based. And this motor, before actual production and actual you see it in the computer, starting from each part and components, including its design, processing, and assembly, everything can realize digitization. So this data and data technology have been testified in the manufacturing industry 30 years ago. And let's look at the CAD application timeline in AEC industry. Started from 1960, and in 1970 and 80, the China's market has learned about this application. And in the 1990s, BIM was put forward. And the 3D and 5D technologies in BIM was put forward at the beginning of the 21st century. So all the technologies we heard of have been going through decades of development. And we have been through a long time of a fanatic stage, and now we are reaching to the bottom line. We talked about many challenges, for example, the aging of the workers, a safety question, a technology adoption, and other issues. Does it mean that we need to find several effective solutions to address each and every problem? I think we couldn't do this because there are just too many problems. We should find the nature of these problems and address the nature first, and find the most effective measures to address the most prominent issues instead of identifying many measures. So digital construction can effectively address these issues I just mentioned. Imagine if the construction industry is filled with high technology, and if we work in a safe working environment, and if we can adopt technologies very fast, and if we can finish the project in due time, none of these issues will happen. What about the future construction industry? I think the future construction industry will be promising because the demand is increasing. We hope that our living environment can be more comfortable. It's just like Mr. Li Tie mentioned, China has so many buildings that have a very low life expectancy. Instead of quality, their comfort of living is really low, poor. In the future, we may move to the outer space to construct buildings. I believe that the current building technology will not support that possibility. So we need to develop new technologies. There are many technologies we can adopt in our industry, but how to adopt them? I have a chart here. We have divided the construction industry into different into different stages of life cycle. We can actually integrate each technology or all the technologies in each stage of the life cycle to address the problem altogether, including the data technology, construction technology, and the management technology are the things that digital construction want to address. So we need an overall planning, and we need to look at all the issues from a company's perspective. So we hope we can make use of these new IT technologies, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, big data, cloud computing, and together with our best practices like IPD and refined construction, we can address the issues in the problems in our industry for the industry to prosper. So what will be the major changes? The first is the entire process, entire factor, not only people or material, but all factors and all participants. In the past, we only focused on the contractors, but now we should focus on all participants of a real estate. And also, we should promote digital, online, and intelligent. Digital is the basis, and online is a key, and we also have intelligence. We want to achieve 3 news, which are new design, new construction, and new operation and maintenance. New means better in our definition. And eventually we want to achieve one line, which is an ecosystem. It's not just a construction company. We need the IT industry, the government, the education industry to work together to address these issues. So all these I have mentioned, I will share with you my thoughts in details. For example, 3 news, I will share with you the case studies by elaborating the 3 news. Just now, I mentioned, Mr. Zeng mentioned the headquarters of Apple. This is a video of this headquarters. It was designed by Steve Jobs in 2011. It was designed to be delivered in 2015, but it was actually delivered in 2017. It was planned to invest in $2 billion US, but actual investment was $5 billion.
But its construction, as you can see, that it's beyond our expectation. But for Apple, its demand is quite high. It attends to the details like the handles. It should be well fitted to the door frames. It should have a good touch and feel, and the whole building, like this one, it's like a big circuit, but inside it, the details are almost to the extreme perfect standards, and 0.008 millimeter is the accuracy in measuring some of its devices. So I believe this is really challenging to the construction businesses. And there are many other similar demanding requirements in this bidding and tendering document. The general contractor of this project is really a highly respected insider in this industry, but they cannot accomplish this. And in year 2018, this building have been formally delivered to Apple. If you have the opportunity and you are encouraged to appreciate and see for yourself this art of work in this construction industry, I believe this is not only what something the executives of Apple or the employees of Apple want, but for me personally, I would even want to work in such a complex. So the whole process, whole elements, and the whole participants, those are the three wholes. We have so much information now, and much of that is based on our own perspective or from our own teams. But that resulted a huge waste in the industry. When I talked with an American professor, he said that according to his research, 43% of the resources in this industry have been wasted. So this is a shocking figure. And that professor is also an academician. I believe that's reliable. And this figure have also been testified once again, which once again 43% of the cost have been wasted. So this misleading information or ununified approach to the project has resulted in a huge waste. So we need to adopt a project-centered approach. And can we do that? Some of the best practices can give us an inspiration for a city, an industrial park, or a new zone. From the very beginning, from the very first, like the planning, we can pursue a more integrated solution. For some of the industrial parks, they are trying this. And the new zones or the new cities built with such an approach will be much better than what we had before. And there are also digitization, internetization, as well as the intelligence. Let's review about what has happened in the industry before. We used to advocate information application in the industry. That's for the benefits of management. For the executives, when they do their daily management, they need to get the information. But how can they get the information? Because when they make decisions, it should be information supported. Need the original data. Otherwise, it will be very hard for them to make a wise decision. And for many of the executives in companies, I believe they find this is a challenge when they try to get the adequate information. If we do not have the abundant, have the accurate and the real-time information, it will be very hard for us to improve the efficiency, and it will be very hard to deliver any benefits to the company. So on the basis of that, we need to generate information and generate knowledge so that we can move away from information to digitization. If digitization can be achieved inside the company, any information the executives need can be delivered anytime. Digitization on every construction site. We have our digital system, and some of the worker will find that whenever they enter or exit the construction site, well, their information will be collected, like the facial recognition data collection. But we also need it to be an online information, because that's the way to make it efficient. Because we used to take a whole week to analyze and get the information. But nowadays, all the information we get right now at this moment will not be effective or will not be useful in the next moment. So things are changing in a flinking moment, in a flinking space, and we need real-time data, and with that we can make quality decision and make prompt action. In this process, in this case study, this digitalization system can make sure the real-time procurement process, how the process is going forward across the different construction sites in the city. The archiving, we used to store our document in a computer, and when we need it, we go to that specific computer. But now we can store it in our cloud. We can access it whenever, wherever we want it. And also, we have online multiple person coordination, like we have a safety inspector, and safety inspector, whenever they identify any safety risk, they would text the responsible person, and the person will make the correction, and then the inspector will review it. With all these data and real-time data, actually, we can develop from that artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is actually the result of big data plus real-time, like in-depth learning. This philosophy have been applied in many different industries. And nowadays, this intelligent practice have been adopted in some practices, like the semi-manual scheduling. We do some of the work manually, but with all this, we hope to minimize the cost, to maximize the efficiency. And we call it zebra progress. There are different expressions to this concept, and I believe the logics behind this is quite feasible and visible to you. But for me, I believe that we are just one step away from intelligence. Like in our public cloud, we have the various templates. We have the various plan templates installed in that cloud. We can automatically match them and refine them so that we can generate a schedule we want immediately. The plan refining can save the manpower as well as the mechanical resources. The efficiency of the labor force, the efficiency of our machinery, I believe there are much more rooms for us to save it. It's not one single company or one single industry that can accomplish this. we need the IT, ecological, industrial chain, as well as the construction industry, ecological chain, work together to accomplish this. And so it's what we call a beam plus PIM. Beam is the core of all technologies. By plussing beam and PIM, we can create such a platform, and so that we can control the cost of each project and make sure each project will turn out to be a success. I believe later on we will have an unveiling ceremony, and we are working with the best companies in the world to empower the construction industry. Like the digital construction concept, as well as the prospects, sounds quite rosy, but it's far from us. It seems hard to implement it, but actually it's not far away from us. Let me share with you several case studies. On-site management actually is composed of several elements for each site. How many workers do they want? How many workers in different expertise do they want? In most cases, we decide by our experience. But in some cases, this experience is limited and is not sound. So how can you forecast your need? In our management, we can actually monitor with real-time and online monitor the site, and we can artificially calculate how much we need. So this is a closed loop, and this can maximize the efficiency of the manpower we have so far. How can we do that? The second case study, for such a truck of the steel bars, you may think it's a material management, but when we receive this cargo, we will first weigh the cargo and calculate how many bars. We used to count manually, but now we scan it with our mobile phone, and an app will calculate automatically. When we do this, we can also forecast the labor force. On the site, we would use these safety helmets. This is not the ordinary one, because inside it we have embedded a chip. This chip can locate the workers. And you may ask what is accuracy. Here we have an accuracy. When I wear this helmet, someone in the lobby, on the right hand is the real-time video. On the right hand is the tracking footprint of this person. So this person can be tracked in real time, and this can be realized. For all this can be applied in the operation of some of the machinery. And so for this safety helmet, it's not just a helmet. It's something that can be integrated or considered in combination with, for example, check-in, check-out, and other labor management.
All the information will be recorded in our labor management system, and we know how many workers come today, and we know their types of labor work. And when we know the number of workers, we know the unit work efficiencies. For example, binding of steel bars, we know the number of the labor, and we know the number of steel bars. Then we know how many steel bars will be binded. by this number of the workers, and through the helmet. Through this intelligent helmet, we know how many work there will be done today. This is the entry condition. And what about the operation? It's the same. We can track the operation like this, and different workers work in different places, and they have different status. And if you look at this chart, the green means everything goes on well, and the red means something wrong. So for the red, we can click and see whether it's a shortage of whether there's a shortage of labor or something else, particularly the installation of a steel bar. For example, in that day we had 4.5 tons of steel bar, but we need to finish 6 tons. So that means there was a shortage of the steel bar material. When we know this information, we can make timely adjustment. And in this operation panel, we can see that the expected completion time is 0.85 working days, and for the binding of steel bars, and for carpentry, it's expected to complete in 107 days, which means the carpenters need to work overtime to complete this work. And we have the statistics of the work production, and in this case, we can make estimations and prediction of the next week. We will predict the duration of the worker of one day, and then the amount of materials that is to be processed, and then we can work out the work efficiency per capita. The other thing is safety management. Safety management is a big thing, but if you combine it with informatization, for example, the welder and the electric worker, they have their own permit. And we can also identify them from the kind of helmet they wear. And for the safety manager, they will receive the information, for example, to helmet entered into this site. And the 2 welders are there. And he will also know the location of the 2 welders in this place. And if he identifies that any one of these 2 welders doesn't have the qualification to be there, and we can know the work trajectory of this welder. If something happens, something goes wrong, this safety manager will identify the root cause. This is about safety. We can combine the safety issue with our technology. And the other is construction, and all this during the construction we can combine them with beam effectively and generate many plans. For example, we identify 2 optimal plans, Plan A and Plan B. We can compare them in terms of labor force and in the convenience of construction and the consumption of energy. They are different, and it's a dynamic. With these 2 plans, different plans, we can identify the optimal plans instead of just focusing on one plan. And for a company, we have multi-project management. We need to recognize the contractual risks of our projects to manage every project well. Similarly, we can incorporate all the information of all projects in this system. For example, quality, safety, funding, and progress. All these will be monitored. And for each project, we will set standard, and we will categorize different projects based on, for example, based on safety. For those who rank at the bottom, we can click inside and see the specific problem. And we also can identify problems of time delay. We can identify the specific reason that caused the time delay. So the complete information can be shown in front of us at any time, including people, worker, safety condition, and material condition. All this will be presented in front of us. I believe that for a company, we can look at the project in an all-round way. We can look at the system and the details and different parts of the system. It's not just one single technology. You can see we apply BIM, Internet of Things, cloud computing, big data, and artificial intelligence. With these technologies, all the above are possible. With this intelligent helmet, you can actually experience it in our exhibition booth outside this conference hall. And you don't need to change the battery. The battery can run for several years. So all these technologies are applicable. There are many cases, and I won't elaborate on each of them. So digital construction is a theory, and it's also about action. It can be implemented in our industry. And in terms of informatization, many companies are using informatization, but we see informatization application are heading to some other directions. Working together, different companies can really use the informatization and digital construction and to make a difference in the construction industry. But does it mean that we just outsource everything to a company and do nothing? No, it's not possible. The informatization of a company and digital construction of a company relies on the company to do things. It relies on the company's staff, workers, and policy to implement informatization. Some companies just hold a wait-and-see attitude, but in this case, they will be lagging behind very soon because the changes are very fast. If you are one step or two steps late in the market, then you will completely lose the opportunity. There are many cases in other industries, and it will be the same in our industry. So be preemptive. How should we do it? The first is from the strategic level. Digital construction should start from the strategic level. The company's decision makers should be the key player. A leading construction doesn't only mean a leading service. We should make sure that the digital construction can be enjoyed. Information can be enjoyed by any level of staff in the company. And also, the single point application of the technology will lead to information isolation. So share the information with every colleague is very important. And technological change is not only the matter of the technical department of a specific company, but it should be the company as a whole to promote technological transformation. There are some steps, and I will not elaborate on this. First, we identify the objectives and tools and build a project team. And second, which is very important, just as I showed you, it's not the technology, the product. And we should identify the technologies that you're going to use and the issue you're going to address and the people you're going to use. So once we have identified the objectives, we should set the scenario that we're going to apply the technology. We should make clear what kind of issue we're going to address. Once we find the right technology to address the right issue, then our work efficiency will be increased and improved, and we will add value to the company. When the system can function well, we can change our business procedure to support the new informatization tool. So it's not that complicated, and it is achievable. So now digital construction era is here. It's not far away from us, and in the market, some industries are using these technologies. We see that there are many companies globally that are seeking for change. And there are many people around us who are working actively towards pushing forward to it. So I believe that working together, we can create a better construction industry in the future. I would like to join hands with you to make the construction industry better in the future. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Yuen. Please remain on the stage. And your speech have drawn a blueprint of change for the digital construction, and you also point out a pathway for practice of digital construction. As a business strategy, digital construction should gather the strength of the entire industry to realize crossover cooperation and integrated innovation. Next is the exciting part. We will all witness a crossover cooperation, and this is the mixed cloud solution co-issued and released by Microsoft, Huawei, and Glodon. Okay, let's welcome Huawei IT Software President, Mr. Cai En, and also Cai En from Microsoft Greater China. Please move to the stage and put your hand on the button. Next, we will count down together. When we count down to 1, please press the button. 3, 2, 1. Launch.
So congratulations to the 3 companies, Glodon, Huawei, and Microsoft. So actually, we are going to have the next speaker, and who will deliver on the mixed cloud solutions, empowering the digital construction and digital transformation.